Friends, today I'm going to solve LeetCode problem number 1498, number of subsequences that satisfy the given sum condition. In this problem, we are given an array of integers, nums, and an integer target, alright? And we are asked to return the total number of non-empty subsequences such that the sum of minimum and maximum element in that subsequence is less than or equal to our target value. And we must return our answer with a modulo of 10 to the power 9 plus 7 because the answer may be too large. Alright, now we are here given a nums array and a target. Let's take this example and see how we could solve this problem using this example. Alright, so let's try to perform a brute force approach, right? So we have four values, 3, 5, 6, 7, and our target is equals to 9. So what are the subsequences? Like basically, what does subsequence mean? Subsequence mean that we take the sequence as it is, but we could delete a value in the sequence without having to change the order of the sequence itself. So we can take like a sequence. Suppose we have this error, right? So this is also one sequence. Now here in this case I just delete 5 and 6, so I just have 3 and 7. That also forms a sequence. I can just delete 6 only, it's still forming a sequence with 3, 5, 7. Or I could just like delete the value 7 and still forming a sequence with 3, 5, 6. Okay, so basically we are either removing some values here. So now we need to see how many subsequences we can form such that the sum of the minimum element in the sequence and the maximum element in the sequence is less than or equals to 9. Okay, so what we do is we start from the first element. All right, so we just take a subsequence of length 1 and it is 3, which means the minimum and maximum is the same value, and the sum is equals to 6, which is less than our target. So basically we have a subsequence with a value 3 here, right? Okay, next what we could do is we could also form a subsequence with 3 and 5, right? And the sum of these would be 3 plus 5. 3 is the minimum, 5 is the maximum, so 3 plus 5 is 8, which is less than 9. So we have our value 3 and 5. Next subsequence we can take is with the 6, and we get the values 3 plus 6, which is equals to 9. So we have 3, 5, 6. Okay, here what also we could do is instead of taking a subsequence 3, 5, 6, we could just take a subsequence of 3 and 6 only, because here we are removing the value 5. So if we take a subsequence of 3 and 6, the sum is still equals to 9, right? And we are getting our subsequence. So that is also one thing we could do. So we actually take the subsequence with all of the values and then see if the sum is less than or equals to the target or not. So in that case our time complexity becomes O of n squared, or even worse, it could even get worse. So that would be a huge time complexity. So how can we solve this problem in a much less time complexity? So let's see how we could do that. Okay, I'm just not going to erase this because basically this is the answer. I'm just going to use these answers and show you a different approach. So what are we going to do is we are going to use a 2 pointers approach. Pointers. All right, so I'm going to use 2 pointers approach. In the 2 pointers approach, what we do is we have 2 pointers. Basically, one pointer points to a first element in the index at 0, so at 0th index in the array, and the next pointer points to the last index, that is n minus 1. Okay, so basically, what are we doing is now we are pointing our first pointer to 3 and our last pointer to 7. And then what we do is we now perform our evaluation. Okay, before that, let's look at a pattern here. So here, this was the answer that we got, right, for this nums value and the target. So if you look at this value, what's happening is we are only taking subsequence between 3 and 6, so that would be equals to, these are like four values that we got, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And how many elements do we have? We have three elements, each is of index 1, 2, 3, right? So start is at index 0 and end is at index 2. Okay, so we have the four values here. So this actually gives us a formula, an equation that we could use, that is 2 to the power the right index and the left index. Okay, to the power right minus left. So what is our right? Our right is equals to 2, right, and our left is equals to 0. So 2 to the power 2 minus 0 is 2 to the power 2, and that gives us the value 4. And this is the number of subsequence that we are able to form using the elements between 3 and 6. Okay, so this formula is what we are going to use for our two pointers. Okay, so now we take our first pointer, that is left pointer to first index and right pointer to last index. Okay, let me have our indices here. So these are the indices. Now is 3 is the minimum and 7 is the maximum, because this array is sorted, and we are going to do it for all the arrays. We are going to sort it before we perform this operation. So now we take the first and last element, because we know 3 will always be the minimum and 7 will always be the maximum for the subsequence that we'll create using these two values. Okay, so we check, is 3 plus 7 less than or equals to 9? No, right? So what we do is we decrement our right pointer, and now our right is pointing at the value at index 2. And now 6 plus 3 is equals to 9. So we can actually form a subsequence using these left pointer and right pointer, and the values between them could like vary. So what we do is we take the difference, that is 2 to the power 2 minus 0, that is the calculation we did here, and we get the value 4. Now in the next iteration, what we do is, now since we found that we are able to create a subsequence because it fulfills the criteria, in that case now we increment our left pointer. Now our left pointer is pointing to 5 and our right is pointing to 6. So 5 is the minimum, 6 is the maximum, and the sum would be 6 plus 5, which is equals to 11, that is greater than 9, right? So our criteria fails. So now we shift our right pointer here, and now left and right are both pointing to 5, and the sum would be 5 plus 5, which is equals to 10, again greater, right? So the next iteration, what we do is, now our right moves, right is decreased again. Now here, when left is greater than right, that is when we break our loop, and then the result that we get is equals to 4 only. So basically we are going to use two pointers, one pointing to the first index and one pointing to the right last index, right? And every time criteria is fulfilled, we increment our left pointer, and if criteria is not fulfilled, we decrement our right pointer, right? Why are we decrementing? Because criteria is not fulfilled means the sum is greater than target, which means now we have to decrement the sum. And the way we can decrement the sum is by taking a value, taking the max, by decreasing the maximum value, right? So we could decrease the maximum value by moving right towards the left. Okay, because left is less than right always. So that is what we do. Now let's write our code here. Okay, so first of all we are going to sort our nums. So sort the nums a comma b, a minus b. Okay, and next what we are going to do is we need our 2 pointers, right? So left pointer will point at 0 and right pointer will point to nums length minus 1. Awesome. Now we need a count variable to keep the count of the number of subsequences which has the sum of minimum maximum element less than or equals to our target. Okay, now we create a while loop, so we iterate until and unless left is less than equals to right. Okay, and here we check the values of minimum and maximum, which is our left plus nums, the maximum is at right index less than equals to target. If it is less than equals to target, then what we do is we update our count. So we update our count based on the powers, right? So math that power of what we do is 2 comma right minus left. Okay, and then we take the modulo of count. So let me just define a const const mod equals to math the power of 10 to the power 9 plus 7. Okay, so we are just going to use this mod here, and we are now incrementing our left because our criteria is fulfilled. Else what we do is we decrement our right because our criteria was not fulfilled. Okay, and eventually we are going to return our count here. Now let's try to run a code and look if it works or not. Well, it seems to work. Let's try to submit this. Okay, so we got a problem here. Let's use a mod here as well. And let's try to submit. Okay, so what are we getting is not a number, right? Not a number because what's happening is our method power is giving us a very big number which is not recognized by our compiler. So this big number becomes an infinity value, and when we are trying to add an infinity, it gives us not a number. So we have to take care of that. So instead of like doing method power, we are going to do something else. So we are going to create a power array, and the first element will be equals to 1, and then now for each of the elements starting from 1, I less than nums length I plus plus, we are going to create our powers. So this array will consist of the power of 2. Okay, so we are going to push power I minus 1 times times 2, and we are going to take the modulus of these also because these values could be very large, right? So we have to take care of that. That is why we are going to take the modulo here. And now instead of doing a power, we are going to use this power array. So we are going to take power of right minus left. Awesome. Now let's try to run this. Let's now submit this. Great. So this is how we solve this problem. Let's talk about the time and space complexity. Okay, so since we are sorting our array, sorting text and log of n time complexity, and we are using a for loop here, right? that is O of n. Also we are using a while loop, so that would be in worst case O of n. So our overall time complexity is O of n log of n, and our space complexity would be, since we are using a power array which depends on the length of the nums, so that would also be O of n. So that's all for this solution. Let me know what you think about my solution in the comments down below, and please don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel for more LeetCode Daily Challenge problems solution. Okay, hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.